On Thanksgiving Day, I arrived at my daughter's house unannounced. What I saw nearly stopped my heart. My grandson, Amos, was sitting outside in 15-degree weather, wearing nothing but a thin shirt and shorts. His lips were blue, his hands trembling, his body shaking from the cold. Inside, through the glowing windows, I could see them all, my daughter, her husband Wilbur, their guests, laughing around a warm table filled with turkey, gravy, and pie. My blood boiled. Enraged by their cruelty, I kicked down that door and said 6 words that made their faces turn pale. But that moment was only the beginning of the justice that would change their lives forever. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and tell me in the comments, what time is it where you're watching from right now? My phone had buzzed earlier that day. A text from my neighbor. Saw police cars at the Hendersons again, domestic situation, made me think of you and your family worries. I'd stared at those words for a long time, sitting in my old Chevrolet while it idled in the driveway. The Hendersons. Martha used to worry about their grandson, too. That was back when she was still alive to worry about anything at all. Now it was just me. Me and that gnawing feeling in my gut whenever I thought about Leona's marriage. The clock read 2:30 p.m. Time to go. Snow had started falling an hour ago, fat flakes sticking to everything, turning the world white and silent. The radio crackled with weather warnings as I turned onto I-75 south toward Cincinnati. Classic. Rock played through the static. Led Zeppelin, heavy and angry, just like my mood. On the passenger seat sat 2 gift bags. One held a brand new baseball glove for Amos. Genuine leather. More expensive than I'd planned. The other had comic books. He'd been reading those since he was 12. He was 18 now. Probably thought he was too old for heroes. But I remembered being 18. You're never too old for heroes. Family is all we have left, Martha used to say when I complained about holiday visits. She'd been right then, and she was right now, even if her voice only lived in my memory. After losing her 6 months ago, every gathering felt fragile, every moment precious. The snow thickened, and the windshield wipers struggled to keep up. Other cars crawled along with their hazard lights flashing like nervous fireflies. I gripped the wheel tight and kept a steady 40 miles per hour. No point arriving at all if I ended up in a ditch. I tried calling Leona's house to let them know I was coming. No answer. 6 rings, then voicemail. Strange. Someone was always home on Thanksgiving afternoon. A gas station appeared through the gray blur, bright lights cutting through the storm like a lighthouse. I pulled in, filled the tank, and grabbed some coffee. The clerk, a young guy with tired eyes, shook his head at the weather. "Roads are getting worse by the hour," he said. "You driving far?" "Just to Cincinnati," I replied. "Family dinner. Be careful. Saw 3 accidents already today." By the time I got back in the truck, it was 3:05 p.m. I thought about Amos, probably helping his mother in the kitchen, maybe watching football with Wilbur. He'd grown so much since summer. The last time we'd gone fishing at Lake Erie. Caught his first base that day, grinning like he'd won the lottery. That's when I noticed the bruise on his arm. He said he'd fallen off his bike, but I knew better. Those marks looked too much like fingers. I should have asked more. Martha would have known what to do. Snow fell heavier as I turned onto Maple Grove. The houses looked picture-perfect. Pumpkins, wreaths, twinkling lights. It was the kind of street where nothing bad was supposed to happen. At the end stood Leona's blue 2-story house. Wilbur's pickup in the driveway, smoke curling from the chimney. Everything looked peaceful. Too peaceful. I slowed, already imagining Amos running out to hug me like he used to. Maybe, I thought, this Thanksgiving would bring our family together again. I was wrong. When I stepped out, I saw him. Amos, sitting on the porch steps, arms wrapped around his knees, snow gathering on his hair. "Jesus Christ," I muttered, sprinting toward him. Amos! What are you doing out here? He looked up, relief flooding his pale face. Grandpa! His voice was barely a whisper. I can't. I wrapped my coat around him. His body was like ice. Can't what? I'm not allowed inside, he said. Those words hit me like a hammer. Through the window behind us, I could hear laughter. Warm, happy laughter, while my grandson froze on the steps. How long have you been out here? I asked. He didn't answer at first. Since this morning. This morning. I checked my watch. It was 3:15. 4.5 hours. Amos, it's below freezing. You could have died. I tried the door. Locked. Of course it was locked. They'd locked him out on Thanksgiving Day. I guided him to my truck, cranked the heat, and wrapped him in a blanket. His hands were numb. I held them in mine, rubbing warmth back into his fingers. Talk to me, son. What happened? He stared down. I was helping Mom with the turkey. I forgot to turn off the timer when I took it out. The top got a little burnt. I clenched my jaw. And Wilbur? He lost it. Said I ruined the whole holiday. Said I embarrassed the family. Told me I had to sit outside until I learned responsibility. And your mother? She tried to say something, but he told her to stay out of it. I had to breathe hard not to explode. 4.5 hours in the cold for a burnt turkey. Has this happened before? I asked. Sometimes, he said. Last month, Wilbur made him stand in the garage all night for forgetting to take out the trash. Another time, 2 days in the basement for breaking a beer bottle. Each word was a dagger. Your mother knows? She says Wilbur's just trying to make me more responsible. His voice broke. Maybe she's right. Maybe I am just... Don't you dare finish that sentence, I said. This isn't your fault. It's abuse. And it ends today. Grandpa, please, he whispered. If you make a scene, he'll take it out on me later. I looked at that glowing house. Laughter, music, warmth, and something inside me snapped. Martha used to say I had a temper. She was right. I stepped out of the truck. Let me worry about Wilbur, I said. Right now, we're getting your things. Amos followed, terrified. I didn't bother knocking. I kicked the door just below the lock. Hard. It flew open, slamming against the wall. The smell of turkey and gravy rushed out. The laughter died instantly. They all stared. Wilbur at the head of the table, carving knife in hand. Leona beside him in a green dress. A little girl frozen mid-bite. The perfect family tableau. Except for one thing. They'd left a boy outside to freeze. Have you completely lost your minds? I roared. Leona's face went white. Dad, what are you? 4 hours, I shouted. While you sat here feasting, that boy was freezing on your porch. Wilbur rose slowly, setting down his knife. He was taller than I remembered. Broad, smug, drunk on control. Who gave you permission to enter my house? He growled. This is private property. Private property? I stepped closer. You mean the property where you locked my grandson outside to die? This is a private family matter, he said through gritted teeth. A private family matter? I barked. You nearly froze a child to death. He ruined our holiday, Wilbur said. He needs to learn responsibility. He's 18, I shouted. And what you're doing isn't responsibility. It's abuse. Wilbur smirked. He's lucky. A little cold never hurt anyone. I looked back at Amos, shaking, lips blue. Looks fine to me, Wilbur added. Fine, I said quietly. You think this is fine? Leona stood, trembling. Dad, please don't ruin our holiday. We can talk later. Ruin your holiday? I snapped. Your son nearly froze to death, and you're worried about a holiday? Wilbur stepped forward. This is my house, my rules, and Amos is not my biological son. I'll discipline him as I see fit. There it was, the truth. Amos wasn't his blood, so to Wilbur he didn't matter. "You have 30 seconds to apologize to my grandson," I said, my voice low and cold. Wilbur laughed. "I don't owe that boy anything. If he doesn't like my rules, he can find somewhere else to live." "You're right," I said, pulling out my phone. "He is going somewhere else." I held up the screen. "Either you apologize right now, or I call Child Protective Services and report you for abuse." Wilbur's smirk faltered. "You wouldn't dare." "Try me." "Dad, please," Leona begged. "Don't destroy our family." "I'm not destroying it," I said. "I'm saving what's left of it." Wilbur puffed his chest. "Get out of my house. Amos is my responsibility." I looked around at the candles, the turkey, the perfect holiday table. "Responsibility?" I said quietly. "You call this responsibility?" I turned to Amos. "Go pack your things, son." He hesitated, then nodded and disappeared down the hall. Wilbur started to move, but I raised my phone. "One more step," I warned, "and I'll make sure you spend your next Thanksgiving behind bars." Silence. Leona started to cry. The little girl clung to her arm, and Wilbur just stood there, seething. I didn't look back. I'd already said what I needed to say. When Amos returned, coat zipped, bag slung over his shoulder, I put a hand on his back and guided him out the door. The cold hit us again, but it didn't matter. This time, he wasn't alone. We drove off through the snow, away from that house, away from the man who'd broken him. As the lights of Maple Grove faded in the mirror, Amos whispered, "Thank you, Grandpa." I just nodded. Sometimes, justice doesn't come from the law. Sometimes, it comes from family. The ones who still remember what love really means. They'd had guests. People had been here, eating dinner, laughing, celebrating, while Amos sat outside, freezing. And not one of them questioned it. Not one of them said a word. "Grandpa, let's just go," Amos whispered behind me. "Please, I don't want to cause any more problems." The defeat in his voice broke something inside me. This boy, my grandson, smart, kind, and gentle, had been beaten down so badly that he thought he was the problem, that he was causing trouble for asking for basic human decency. "You're not causing problems, son," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You never were." I turned to Wilbur, my decision crystallizing like ice in my veins. "You have 30 seconds to apologize to my grandson for what you did today." "I'm not apologizing for anything," Wilbur said, crossing his arms. "And I'm certainly not taking orders from some bitter old man who can't accept that his precious grandson needed discipline." "Then we're done here." I slid my phone into my pocket. "Amos, get your things. You're coming home with me." The silence that followed was deafening. Even the little girl stopped crying. "You can't just take him," Leona said softly. "Watch me," I replied. I placed my hand firmly on Amos's shoulder and guided him toward the stairs. "Go pack what you need. We're leaving." "Dad, you can't do this!" Leona's voice rose behind us. "You can't just walk into our house and take my son." "I can, and I am. Unless you'd prefer I call the authorities and let them handle it." We climbed the narrow staircase. Amos led the way to a small back room, barely big enough for a bed and dresser. No heat vent, no comfort, just cold air creeping in from a single north-facing window. "This is where you sleep?" I asked quietly. Amos nodded, already packing. "Wilbur says the other rooms are for guests and my sister." My sister, not our. Even in his own home, he was an outsider. "Take everything that matters," I said. "We're not coming back." Leona appeared in the doorway, her face streaked with tears. "Amos, please think about what you're doing. This is your home, your family." "Some family," he muttered. "Real families don't lock each other outside to freeze." "Wilbur was just trying to teach you responsibility," she said weakly. "By giving me hypothermia?" Amos's voice cracked. "He made me sleep in the garage last week because I left a glass in the sink." Leona froze. "A glass?" "He wants me gone," Amos said quietly. "And you know it." We walked downstairs. Wilbur waited at the bottom like a bouncer. "You leave my house, boy, and you don't come back." "Fine by me," Amos said. Strong. Steady for the first time that day. The front door hung open from when I'd kicked it in. Cold air poured through, fluttering holiday decorations like dying leaves. As we reached the door, Leona cried out, "Please, Amos, don't do this!" "I love you." He stopped. "Turned once." "If you loved me, Mom, you wouldn't have let this happen." We walked to my truck in silence. I helped him in, started the engine, and drove off. For the first time that day, Amos looked like he could breathe. "Thank you, Grandpa," he whispered. "I can't believe you came for me." "I should have come sooner," I said, meaning every word. Hours later, we pulled into my driveway. Warm light spilled from the porch. "Home, sweet home," I said, helping him carry his bag inside. The house smelled like coffee and Martha's lavender sachets. It wasn't fancy, but it was safe. "This is your home now, Amos. No one's locking you out here." He smiled. A real smile this time. "It's so warm." "Thermostat stays at 72, I said. "Your grandma always said life's too short to be cold in your own house." We cooked dinner together, simple chicken and vegetables. Slowly, the tension left his shoulders. Then he told me everything. How Wilbur controlled what he ate, when he showered, when he could speak. How his mother was too scared to fight back. How he'd been made to sleep in the garage, like an animal. By the time the fire was crackling in the fireplace, I knew one thing for certain. Wilbur would never hurt him again. But peace didn't last long. Just as we finished dessert, there was a sharp knock at the door. Police, and behind them, Wilbur and Leona. "Mr. Burke," the officer said, "we need to talk." "There's been a report of kidnapping." Wilbur stepped forward, pointing at me. "That's him! He broke into our house and took my stepson." The officer looked between us. "Is the boy here voluntarily?" Before I could answer, Amos appeared beside me. "I'm here because I want to be," he said. "He saved me." "Saved you from what?" "From freezing to death," Amos said, voice shaking. "He left me outside for 4 hours." "In 5-degree weather." Wilbur laughed nervously. "He's exaggerating." Leona stood silent until the officer turned to her. "Ma'am, is that true?" She hesitated, trembling. Then she spoke. "Yes, it's true." The room fell silent. "He told me not to let Amos in. Said it would teach him a lesson." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "He's made Amos sleep in the garage, locked him out overnight." "I can't keep lying for him." "Leona!" Wilbur roared. "You'll regret this." The officer stepped forward. "Sir, turn around. You're under arrest for child endangerment." Wilbur's face turned white. "You can't do this!" But they did. And when that front door closed behind him, a weight lifted from the entire house. Leona collapsed, sobbing. Amos knelt beside her. "It's okay, Mom. It's over." I sat back, watching the fire dance in the grate. "When it mattered most," I said softly, "you chose your son. That took real courage." 4 months later, sunlight filled the kitchen. Leona flipped pancakes while Amos read his college acceptance letter aloud. "Full scholarship to Ohio State," he said, grinning from ear to ear. Leona smiled. "Your grandmother would have been so proud." The house was alive again. Laughter, warmth, family. Leona worked at the library now. Amos had his own room in the basement, a real one, not a punishment cell. "Dad?" Leona asked. "Are you sure you don't mind us staying?" "Independence is overrated," I said. "Family's what matters." That evening, Amos practiced guitar while Leona read her crossword and I watched the fire. Then Amos said something that stopped me cold. "Grandpa, I've been thinking about changing my major to social work. I want to help kids who've gone through what I did." I smiled. "Your grandmother used to say, the best way to heal from pain is to help someone else avoid it. She'd be proud of you." Later, we stood outside beneath the stars. The air was cool, but not cold. "Not anymore." "Thank you for coming to get me," Amos said quietly. I looked at him and felt a warmth deeper than the fire inside. "Thank you for being worth saving," I said, "because that's what family is, showing up when it matters most, telling the truth even when it hurts, and protecting the ones you love." No matter the cost, Martha would have been proud of all of us. If you enjoyed this story, Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. To hear the next story, click on the video on your screen.